Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk, talking the last segment about how Hillary Clinton may not be as inevitable as she thinks. Got one more soundbite I want to play here in just a second. But I want to take this opportunity to introduce what will be a recurring feature here on Focal Point, introducing to you a new component, a new part of Focal Point.
There's something wrong with everything.
That's our new segment. There's something wrong with everything. Now, here is the latest installment in this new component, this new segment on Focal Point. The Journal of the American Medical Association now is telling us not to shake hands. They're telling us, and I am not making this up, I am not exaggerating, I arf you not, the American Medical Association is telling us that shaking hands is as dangerous to human health as smoking. I am not, I repeat, not making this up. Here's from the CBS Denver affiliate KCNC. A commentary in the Journal of the American Medical Association says it's time to say goodbye to the handshake greeting in a healthcare setting, or for that measure, goodbye to the goodbye handshake as well. Sure, a firm handshake can be seen as a sign of greeting and compassion, but it's also believed to be one of the easiest methods to transmit germs. So the recommendation is to treat handshakes like smoking. In other words, since there are a lot of places that simply have smoke-free zones, it seems like a good idea to have handshake-free zones. Now, here's a little trivia thing. I'm going to ask you, this is audience participation. We know from the scriptures, we know from the Word of God that there's nothing wrong with a handshake and everything right with a handshake. And what I need is for you to call me with the biblical reference that indicates that handshakes are absolutely perfectly okay, and we can thumb our noses at the, I don't know what to call them, the idiots at the American Medical Association. So call 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840, looking for proof that handshakes are not, in fact, a threat to human health, but are a perfectly appropriate thing to do. Now, the clip is clip 13. One other issue that Karl Rove got in a lot of trouble for, but he says it's a legitimate issue, and that is Hillary's health. Remember, I even wondered if Bill Clinton was like sabotaging her candidacy, because Bill Clinton came out and said, look, it took her 6 months to get over this thing. When she fell, she had a concussion, she hit her head, she wore those Coke bottle glasses before the hearing when she said, what difference at this point does it make? And Bill Clinton was the one that came out and said it took her 6 months of hard work and constant therapy to get over that. Now, a concussion by definition is a brain injury. Not the same thing as saying she had brain damage, but by definition, you look it up, it is a brain injury. And Bill Clinton says, look, it took her 6 months to get over that. Now, the fact that Bill Clinton dropped that little nugget, to me, that was inexplicable to me, unless maybe some part of Bill Clinton does not want Hillary to be president in 2016. Doesn't want to share the limelight, doesn't want to share the glory. And maybe he doesn't want the media tracking his every move for reasons I think are obvious to you and me. He knows that his extracurricular activities are going to get a lot of additional scrutiny if he happens to be the very first man or first husband, first man that we've ever had in United States history. I don't think he's looking forward to that one little bit. But anyway, here's Karl Rove talking about the fact that will be a legitimate issue in 2016.
Didn't say she had brain damage. She had a serious health episode. And my point was that from, I think it was the 7th of December in 2012 through the 7th of January of 2013, she underwent, first she had apparently a serious virus. They announced then on the 15th of December that she had at some period in the past a week fallen. They didn't say when, they didn't say where. She was recovering at home. On the 30th of December, she goes in and turns out to have had a blood clot. They won't say where. The next day they say it is between her skull and her brain behind her right ear. She's in the hospital for 4 days. She goes home, is back in the office on the 7th. and testifies on the 25th wearing special glasses that allow her to deal with the double vision that this episode caused. My point was that Hillary Clinton wants to run for president, but she would not be human if this didn't enter in as a consideration. And my other point is this will be an issue in the 2016 race, whether she likes it or not. Every presidential candidate is asked for all of their health records by the New York Times. They turn them over to and vice presidential candidates. They turn them over to a battery of doctors, and they examine them in detail. And my point was that everybody says she's going to run, and she probably is. But I would bet it's a more complicated calculation than we might think because, look, she'll be 69. By the time of the 2016 election. She will be 77 if she serves 2 terms, and this ends up being an issue.
So Carl Rove said, look, it's going to be an issue. Health records are examined. I mean, if you turn them over, Bill Clinton stonewalled them for 8 years. Maybe Hillary will do the same thing. Just say, hey, it's none of your business, and they won't be able to get at them. But health is a legitimate concern, especially somebody at her age. Remember, all those questions asked about Ronald Reagan, all those questions asked about Dick Cheney. Is he healthy enough? Is his heart strong enough? What about Ronald Reagan? Is he going to get Alzheimer's? He's too old for the office because of his health. So very legitimate questions. Number to call, 888-589-8840. Talk about anything you want that we've talked about today. We talked about spiritual gifts. We heard from Bishop E.W. Jackson about the important role of pastors. Can't reclaim America without a strong signal coming from our pastors. Talking about the media going into the tank for this humiliating defeat for Bill and Hillary Clinton. Their chosen candidate, both of them endorsed, did ads, fundraisers, and got completely plastered. And in the election, and the health issues that Hillary Clinton may face in 2016, and the AMA saying handshakes are bad for human health, and I'm looking for biblical proof that handshakes are absolutely okay. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Let's go to David in White House, Texas. David, thanks for calling. Now, what's on your mind?
Hey, Brian, I was glad to hear the bishop on the radio with you, and I wanted to congratulate Ed Vitigliano and AFA for the movie The Accidental Activist.
Yes.
I think it would be great if the AFA could get that in the hands of every pastor. I'm certainly going to give mine a copy. I don't remember which pastor it was, but he said a wimpy church comes from a wimpy pastor. And I thought it was a great movie, and I hope that many, many of your listeners will get a copy and take a look and watch it.
All right.
And I wanted to ask you, how can we get our pastors involved other than just encouraging them?
Well, I'll tell you, that's a delicate issue. I was a pastor for 25 years, and so I know a little bit what it's like to be on the other end of a transaction like that. And number one, I just want to reiterate what you're saying about Accidental Activists. This is an outstanding production written by our own Ed Vitigliano. It was filmed down in Florida. It's just about 60 minutes long, so it's not real time consuming, but it's just very well done, very well scripted. It's very well acted and very realistic. And it's a story about a guy who becomes an accidental activist, sort of like our Baker guy out in Oregon. He makes a simple decision to sign a petition, having no idea what is going to develop out of that. And it's very, very well done. It's a great discussion starter. I think it'd be, David, what Dave was talking about, giving this as a gift to your pastor, the Accidental Activist, a terrific idea. Just give it to him, let him watch it. Maybe ask the pastor if you could show that at a Sunday evening service or a Wednesday night service and have a discussion. It's a great discussion starter about Christian activism, Christians getting involved in the process of dealing with some of these contemporary issues and contemporary trends. And here's the best suggestion that I can make with regard to your pastor. Rather than ask your pastor to be a crusader, I mean, trust me, he's got his hands full shepherding the flock. He does not need another headache. Do not be a headache for your pastor. Some pastors, everybody's got politically active parishioners in their church. Every pastor's got them, and they are constantly getting pestered by these activists. They're constantly bringing them things to read, DVDs to watch, campaigns to get involved in. And after a while, the pastor just flinches when he sees that person coming. He does not want to deal with it. It's going to be an aggravation. So don't be that guy for your pastor. You want to be an asset to him. You want to be a resource to him. You want to be a support to him. So one of the things I'd encourage you to do is sit down with your pastor, indicate that you're concerned about the drift of our country. You would like to be involved in making a difference. And would it be okay with him if occasionally you brought some literature and set it on an information table in the lobby, for instance, and let him know that you'll be glad to let him preview it before you distribute it, so he will approve of everything that goes out, because when it comes to political stuff, he's going to be nervous. A lot of pastors are going to be nervous. Some of them aren't, but a lot of them are. They're going to be very, very careful. So you make sure he gets to inspect everything. He gets to see it before. Don't spring anything on him, but say, I would like to make literature available to people in our congregation that might make them a little better informed about what's going on in our culture. Would it be possible for me to do that? I will use information from the American Family Association because you want him to have it come from a source that he can trust. Let him know. So you could take a copy of our action alert, for instance, and you could put that out on the table. You could get some copies of the AFA Journal and make those available on the information table for people to read about. And so be a resource to your pastor, because one of the things that can happen is most pastors are not going to be motivated to be politically engaged. That's just not what God has called them to do. But if they're approached in the right way, they may support you using your gifts to make his congregation more aware and even be mobilized on occasion. So if you're not a threat to him, in fact, what you can say to him, look, Pastor, I would like to provide this service to you. I know you've got people in your congregation that probably are pestering you about political affairs. What I would like to encourage you to do is just direct them to me. I'll take them off of your hands. I'll take them off of your plate, and I will work with them to see if together we can provide information to this congregation in a way that you would approve of. I'll run everything by you, clear everything with you, and you may find in time that you're able to get a lot of good information out to your congregation, to your fellowship. And give them a copy of Accidental Activists, Focal Point and AFR Talk.